Hi, this is Chrissy Streckewald. I'm doing my third reflection for class. What have I learned about research? I think I have a better understanding of the different kinds of research available with regards to experimental and non-experimental studies. I'm noticing a lot of my non-experimental studies are just descriptive studies, um, getting different perceptions from people. And a lot of my experimentals are the pre and post test where there's an intervention applied. I also have a lot of longitudinal studies, which would be non-experimental. It's really interesting to look at disabilities as they develop throughout time. Um, so I think just learning more about that and clarifying what those different kinds of studies means was really helpful. Um, Challenges I've encountered is basically finding the articles for the closing portion of my review of current research for my lit review. I know how I'd like it to go. I have an outline of what I'd like to do, and I'm making some headway with that, but I'd like to end up looking at the research specifically relating to the dual diagnosis of a specific learning language impairment and a specific learning disability or disorder, specifically looking at reading comprehension. I was looking for examples of either difficulty distinguishing between the two, or a misdiagnosis rates, or even rates of comorbidity, because I see it so frequently, even in my own school. There has to be some research out there. It's been tricky, even statistics wise. It seems like very often schools are responsible for reporting the primary disability, and the correlating or secondary disability is not mentioned as frequently. And I'm having a lot hard time finding the reports on that statistic. But I mean, the research is showing me that students with a specific learning or specific language impairment often have later troubles in reading comprehension. And I there has to be some information there about whether or not they're being diagnosed as a specific learning disability or what, because these kids are out there, and there has to be information on how they're being seen and treated. There has to be a study on what's going on out there, and if not, that'll be my gap. So it's kind of leading that way, like it will be. For successes that I've had, I think I found my theoretical view, and I think I'm going with the Matthew effect, which is that whole idea in education of the rich get rich, the poor get poorer. So if a student starts out with low reading ability, they end up with low reading ability regardless of intervention. Um, it's so pessimistic, but I'm finding many of my research studies, even though they don't directly state that, basically that's what they're saying. Students who start with poor oral language skills then have those poor oral language skills translated into poor reading comprehension skills. Even with intervention, students are showing a lot of difficulty making progress. So, I mean, even though I personally, ideologically don't want to believe that, I think that's the perspective I'm going to be taking in my research, just because that's the perspective so many of my theorists or my researchers are saying. I mean, they're not actually saying it, but it's kind of implied. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm glad that I found that it's kind of a weight off the shoulders. What have I learned about myself as a consumer of research? I learned that the easiest way for me to read uh, the research is to read the summary of the findings and results before all the tables and charts. I find the numbers and charts confusing sometimes, and I'm really looking forward to our statistics session, just because I have a lot of time analyzing that. And normally I'm really good at math, but I feel like I may not be reading it as accurately or understand it as fully as I need to. So I've noticed that I tend to read the summary first and the results and discussion before I go back and look at the tables, just so I know I'm reading them hopefully in the right direction. So I think I know what most of it means, but I'm definitely looking forward to some clarification on that topic. The next step that I'm foreseeing is just working on the lit review. I have my research organized into categories. I have a basic outline of how I want to go forward and what I need to do next. So now I just need to get in there and keep writing it. So that's about it. So thank you very much, and I'll see everyone in class.